What if I told you that God himself once stepped down from his throne in heaven, not in a dream, not in a vision, but in reality walking among men, speaking words that could shatter kingdoms, and teaching lessons that could save or condemn your very soul? What if everything we thought we knew about his descent was only a fragment of a terrifying truth hidden in the Bible's darkest pages? Tonight, we are going to uncover why the Almighty came down to earth and what secrets he left behind for those brave enough to listen. In the Old Testament, the people of Israel trembled at the foot of Mount Sinai. The sky turned black, lightning split the heavens, and a thunderous voice shook the ground. Fire descended, smoke covered the mountain, and there God made his presence known. He didn't appear as a whisper of hope. He came as raw power, a force that terrified even the bravest hearts. Why? To give his law, to show humanity that he was not a distant idea but a living, consuming fire. Centuries later, something far more mysterious happened. God descended again, but this time, he did not come cloaked in thunder or wrapped in flame. He came as flesh and blood, Jesus Christ. Imagine the contrast. The same God who once made nations tremble now walked among fishermen, tax collectors, and the poor. Every step he took was history colliding with eternity. Every miracle was not just an act of kindness. It was a coded message, a divine signal about the true nature of heaven and the horrors of hell. But here lies the terrifying truth. God's descent was not only about love and redemption, it was a warning. Through Christ's words, through his parables, through his very life, he showed us the path of salvation and the terrifying consequences of rejecting it. He did not just descend to heal the sick or comfort the brokenhearted. He came to expose the darkness inside men, inside nations, inside the future that awaits this world. Think of his teachings. There will be wars and rumors of wars. Nation will rise against nation. Pestilences, earthquakes, signs in the heavens. These are not gentle promises. They are chilling previews of a time of judgment. And here's the question we must ask ourselves. Was his descent merely an act of divine mercy? Or was it a last attempt to awaken us before the final day arrives? Imagine standing in the crowd as he spoke, his eyes piercing through you as if he knew every secret sin you've hidden. Imagine hearing his voice echoing words of both comfort and terror. I am the way, the truth, and the life. But also, depart from me, for I never knew you. Which side of his descent are we truly on? The side of salvation, or the side of eternal judgment? When God descended in the Old Testament, his presence was terrifying, fire, thunder, and smoke. But in the New Testament, his descent took a radically different form. He came as a man, Jesus Christ, fragile in appearance yet carrying the infinite power of heaven within him. This was no ordinary teacher. Every step he took, every word he spoke, carried the weight of eternity. Why would God choose such a path? Why abandon the glory of heaven to walk among sinners, thieves, liars, and the condemned? The Bible tells us the answer: to teach, to warn, and to reveal the truth about life, death, and what lies beyond. His descent was not only for salvation, it was for education. Think of his parables. They were not just stories for children's ears. They were codes, divine riddles designed to test the heart of man. The parable of the 10 virgins, for example, was not just about lamps and oil. It was a terrifying prophecy about being unprepared for his return, a warning that even the faithful could be left outside in eternal darkness. And what about his Sermon on the Mount? At first it sounds gentle. Blessed are the poor in spirit. Blessed are the peacemakers. But look deeper, and you will see a map of survival in the end times. Those who live by these words will endure. Those who ignore them will be consumed by the very chaos he predicted. But his teachings also carried a darker undertone. Every miracle he performed, healing the blind, raising the dead, casting out demons, was more than compassion. It was a declaration of war against the forces of darkness. With each miracle, he exposed the truth that demonic powers roam the earth, hiding in shadows, corrupting souls. His descent was a direct confrontation with evil itself. Now imagine standing there, watching him cast out demons. The possessed screamed, convulsed, begged for mercy. The crowds gasped in terror. This was not just a display of power. It was a glimpse into the invisible war raging all around us. A war that he wanted us to understand. A war that continues today. And what about the cross? The moment of ultimate descent. When the Son of God allowed himself to be nailed, mocked, and lifted between heaven and earth. Many see only the suffering. But hidden within that suffering was the greatest lesson of all. The cost of sin is death, and the price of redemption is blood. His blood. God descended not to entertain, not to perform miracles for applause, but to teach us with his life, his death, and his resurrection. He descended so humanity could never again say, "We did not know," because now we know. And with knowledge comes responsibility. The responsibility to choose light or darkness, salvation or judgment. The descent of God was not just a moment in history, it was a foreshadowing of the ultimate climax, the end of the world. His teachings pointed again and again to the apocalypse, painting vivid pictures of a future that sounds less like hope and more like horror. Picture the words of Christ in Matthew 24. There will be wars and rumors of wars. Nation will rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines, pestilences, and earthquakes in various places. To many, these sound like distant prophecies. But to those who dare to look at our world today, conflict, disease, natural disasters, they feel like breaking news headlines echoing the words he spoke 2,000 years ago. The climax of his descent is not found only in his miracles, or even in the cross. It is in the warnings he left behind. The book of Revelation is not a gentle story of salvation. It is a terrifying roadmap of judgment. And who gave that vision to John? The same Christ who once walked among us. The same God who descended. Imagine the sky splitting open, trumpets blasting so loud the earth itself shakes, an army of locusts rising from the abyss, their wings roaring like chariots, their sting like scorpions tormenting mankind. This is not mythology. This is Revelation 9, a prophecy so terrifying that many churches refuse to preach it. Yet Christ himself revealed it as part of the final descent of God's plan. And what of the beast, the Antichrist, the false prophet? Christ warned us of deception so great that even the elect could be fooled. His descent among men was, in part, a warning. Do not be deceived. Yet in a world obsessed with power, wealth, and false idols, can we honestly say we are prepared? The climax is this, the same. God who once walked among fishermen will return, not in humility, but in fire. Revelation 19 describes him as a rider on a white horse, eyes blazing like fire, with armies of heaven behind him. His robe is dipped in blood, and on his thigh is written, King of Kings and Lord of Lords. This is the final descent, not as teacher, not as healer, not as a humble carpenter, but as judge, warrior, and king. The one who once whispered blessings will now shout judgment. The one who once wept at a tomb will now command the dead to rise. Think about it. His first descent was filled with miracles, parables, and sacrifice. But his final descent will be filled with thunder, fire, and blood. He came once to save. He will come again to judge. And when that day arrives, no one, rich or poor, powerful or weak, will be able to hide. When God descended, he did not just perform miracles or speak words of comfort. He exposed truth so disturbing that even his closest followers struggled to understand them. The descent was not simply about salvation. It was about revelation. And many of those revelations remain terrifying for us today. Think about the demons he confronted. In the Gospels, we read of legions screaming, convulsing, begging him not to cast them into the abyss. These were not fairy tales. These were glimpses into the invisible war raging behind the veil of reality. Why would God allow us to see such horrors? Because he wanted us to know evil is real, demons are real, and their hunger for souls has not ended. His descent was a spotlight on the shadows, exposing the monsters that still hunt humanity. But there was another layer of revelation, one that many ignore. His prophecies about the end times were not distant threats. They were warnings written in advance about the age we now live in. Pandemics that sweep the globe, nations stockpiling weapons of mass destruction, technology capable of controlling every transaction and every thought. 2,000 years ago, these things would have sounded impossible. Today, they sound like headlines. And then comes the most shocking truth of all. He warned not just about wars and disasters, but about deception inside religion itself. Many will come in my name, he said, and will deceive many. Imagine that. False prophets, false miracles, false gospels. His descent was not only to teach truth, but to expose lies. Lies that would infiltrate even the very institutions claiming to represent him. Now think about this. If God himself had to descend to warn us, how grave must the danger be? The message was urgent. The time was short. And the judgment was certain. He came not just to heal the blind and raise the dead, but to shout to humanity, Wake up before it's too late. And yet most ignored him. Even as he performed wonders, crowds demanded more. Even as he spoke prophecies, leaders mocked him. Even as he offered salvation, humanity chose rebellion. That is the chilling parallel with our world today. We see the signs, floods, fires, plagues, wars, and still, we go on as if nothing is happening. Just as in the days of Noah, humanity eats, drinks, and celebrates, until the floodwaters rise. This is the hidden revelation. His descent was not just a gift of love, it was a final warning disguised as mercy. He showed us the truth so we would have no excuse. We can no longer claim ignorance. We cannot say we didn't know. The truth has been revealed. The warnings have been spoken, and the clock is ticking. The shocking question is, will we listen? Or will we repeat the same mistake as those who watched him walk among them and still turned away? The story of God's descent is not a myth, not a legend, not a distant fable. It is a terrifying reality written in the Bible itself. He came down in fire on Mount Sinai to give his law. He came down in flesh as Jesus Christ to reveal truth and salvation. And he will come down again in power and judgment, in glory that will shake the very foundations of the earth. But the question that echoes through history is this: have we learned what he came to teach us? Or have we ignored his lessons? Just as generations before us turned their backs on him. Look around. The world today trembles under the same warnings. He gave wars escalating like wildfire, diseases spreading with no cure, moral corruption seeping into every level of society. Technology now has the power to enslave entire nations, and deception spreads faster than truth. These are not coincidences. These are fulfillments. These are the very signs he told us to watch for. His descent was never about making us comfortable. It was about shaking us awake, about tearing the veil from our eyes so we could see the battle between heaven and hell playing out in real time. Every word he spoke, every prophecy he revealed, was designed to prepare us for what is coming. And what is coming is unlike anything the world has ever seen. The terrifying truth is this: when he descends again, it will not be as a humble teacher. It will be as a conquering king. The Bible says he will come with the armies of heaven, with eyes like fire, with judgment written on his tongue. On that day, every excuse will vanish, every secret will be exposed, and every soul will face the decision they made when he first walked among us. So I ask you, will you be ready? Will you be on the side of light or the side of darkness? Because neutrality will not exist. Silence will not save you. The descent of God forces every one of us to choose. And now, I want to turn this question back to you. Do you believe the world is ignoring the signs of his descent? Do you think humanity is blind to the warnings written in Scripture? Let me know in the comments below, because your voice matters in this conversation. If this video opened your eyes, if it made you think about the terrifying truth of God's descent, then don't let it stop here. Hit that like button so more people can discover these hidden revelations. Share this video across your social media, on Facebook, TikTok, WhatsApp, everywhere, so others can wake up before it's too late. And most importantly, don't forget to subscribe to this channel and turn on the notification bell, so when I release the next video, you won't miss a single word. Because the truth is clear: God descended once. He is descending now through the signs around us, and he will descend again. The only question left is, will you be ready when the final trumpet sounds?